Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to the Possibility Partners Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and I am a CEO advisor to startup and early stage entrepreneurs, all busy launching, branding, and growing their businesses. And every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm so honored and privileged to bring you what I call Andelicious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. And these are conversations with seasoned and experienced entrepreneurs sharing their best tips, tools, and advice to help you and your business grow and thrive. And they just don't share their champagne popping moments. They also share their ruh-roh and the times that are not so easy, because here is where we all gather together and hold hands as we walk our entrepreneurial journey. It requires courage, tenacity, resilience, and a lot of hope. And we're all here for each other, holding hands and cheering each other along. Please join me in welcoming my wonderful guest today, author, relationship expert, social futurist, and extraordinary woman who I am so blessed to call friend, the one and only Susan Winter. Say hi, Susan.
Hi, Andy. Hi, viewers. How are you? Thank you for joining us today.
It's so great to have you on the show today, Susan. You have such a remarkable background. Where are you hailing from today?
Oh, I'm in Arizona today. Oh, people in the Northeast, don't hate me. The sunshine is blaring. It's 85 degrees. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm laughing, but, it's really to keep from crying, because we have received 4.5 feet of snow in 16 days. It's a little insane here outside of Boston, Massachusetts. But Susan, let's talk about your amazing background, because you've had such an extraordinary journey here and getting to where you are. Share with folks.
Oh, well, I didn't plan on being in this career. But this is the wonderful thing about life. Sometimes life has a far better idea for us than we have for ourselves. And I began as an opera singer, which is why I moved to New York. I did that, loved it, sang with the Minnesota Opera Company, Light Opera of Manhattan, lots of dinner theaters all throughout the U.S. And I was only in opera because I loved jazz. But I was told that I had to get an education. My father said, "You've got to go to college." "Oh, Daddy, I don't want to." "You have to." And I have had actually 7 careers before this one. But when I look at the architecture of those careers, I can see that each new area was placing the groundwork for the next version of myself. Until very late in life, I think I've found what is the best usage of my skills. And strangely, I don't have a degree for this, but it is the culmination of all the ability and all the talents, whether it's the on-camera or it's the communication skills, that I truly love the work that I do now. And it found me, actually.
Well, and it found you, and you were willing to be out there. You were willing to be exploring and pulling on threads and saying, wow, I love singing. I love being expressing this way in the world. And then the next minute, you're a host and a moderator. You're in broadcasting. You've got your own show. You're dealing with the financial experts. How did that happen, Susan?
I grew up with that in my living room, so it was just like my father's friends. So I was used to industrialists in a normal environment. But the unusual thing is I didn't have a degree in journalism. So it was unheard of for somebody to walk into Financial News Network, which is now we know it as CNBC, and get your own show. But when you have a desire and you've got nothing in the way as far as an obstruction in your own mind, it has to come to pass. I can't tell you that I've done this every single time, but in that way, I was working for half the Fortune 500 companies as a spokeswoman, and I'd come home and watch FNN because it was the only one with a stock ticker, and it would talk all about news in the business world, and I kept thinking, I can do that. I do that all day long. And another interesting thing that I've discovered is you never know where your big break will come from. It is from the most unlikely sources. People never realize The person that you've discounted, that you think there's no way they can have the connection, is the exact person who's going to give it to you. Because I went to all of my agents, they said, you can't do that. You need to go to Wichita and do the farm and horse report for 3 years and get on local news and maybe. And I thought, no, I'm sitting next to a gal at Prudential who is one of my clients. And we were looking at, it was the live medium that we're doing now, telecasting. I knew it was a new market, and she said, what do you want to do? Crazy, wild, crazy hair, patent leather skirt on. I just thought, not corporate looking. And I said, I want to work for FNN. She pulled back and she looked at me and she said, all right. She goes, you never got this from me, but I have a feeling that you're good. I don't know why. She gave me a number to a person inside the organization. I couldn't use her name. It was kind of the wrong person, but I called 6 months, 3 months, send me this, send me that. Next thing I know, I'm with the former producer of the ABC Evening News that had gone there, talking about the show that I do. And I thought they write it for you. No, you write your own script. They said, we'll send you the prospectus 10 days before the show. It's like, what? What?
I can't imagine.
But you're ready for it. When it happens, you are ready for it. And you never know who's going to be that connection. So don't discount anyone. Life is always trying to give us our next opportunity. And
it really is. I think Tina Fey's quote, Susan, is one of my favorites, which is, say yes and you'll figure it out later. And that sounds like what you did.
Yeah. You'll be okay. They sent an analyst with me for the first show because it taped live. There was no editing, and I think they thought I was going to cry and break down. And I loved it. I had the CEO of Duke Energy. And I later found out through a dear friend of mine who was a dear friend of his that that was the best interview he ever had. Because I talked to him like I was talking to somebody like you. I was like a kitchen table. These guys are great at what they do, Andy. But they're not comfortable on camera. It's scary. So you want them to forget about the camera. And I love that. I love that.
And clearly you're able to establish rapport quickly and create a connection and put everybody at ease. I love that. So here you are having what is a brilliant career in front of the camera on some wonderful, highly visible platforms, and you decide to become an author. How did that happen?
Well, there was a gap of about 10 years in between where I built my dream home, moved to a rural area an hour outside of New York, and fell in love with a man 20 years younger. So I kind of got kicked off the traditional conservative corporate America track. I didn't quite know what to do when life gave me the sideswipe, but I played my hand that was put in front of me. And finally, after 7 years of our involvement, where the criticism and the gossip and the rumors were really, I had to gear up every day to leave my home. To leave my gorgeous home, I had to gear up to just go to the grocery store or get gas because of the onslaught of what I'd encounter. And I kept thinking, if there's a way to use this, that pain will make sense to me. If I'm a victim of just a cruel world, then I'm really going to lose faith. And the opportunity came. Somebody said to me, the book should be written on older women, younger men. So that's awesome. Thank God for that. Thank goodness for that. And I'm very grateful that then I had the chance to say it. And I thought it was a one-shot deal. That's it. I didn't know.
And now, unlike today, where you can self-publish, you can do ebooks. I mean, did you have to shop the proposal? How did it go for you back?
Well, thankfully, my co-author was the one that knew how to do all that. I would do the writing, and she knew how to write the query letter. I fired 3 agents. We didn't have anybody behind us, and if I saw an agent didn't get it, I fired them. So she made me the heavy. But it was very clear that they had to get the message of the book. It wasn't about, oh, boy, I'm with young guys. It was really about women are expanding in all areas of the world. And this is just one more segment of allowing us greater options, whether it's work or in our own consciousness of what's possible. It's not for everybody. I'm not an advocate of that lifestyle. If it works for you, fine. But that was the conduit through which I found a voice. When I saw an injustice, I needed to explain that to help change social consciousness to be more inclusive. And I swore I'd never write again unless I had something profound to say that I knew would be a benefit and that I didn't think had been said the way I was going to say it. And
wow.
So I waited. Yeah, I waited, and I waited a long time.
That's awesome. And yet you continue to pursue dreams, pull on threads, keep yourself involved in life, growing as a person. What kind of daily practices do you use, Susan, to help you stay tuned in and turned on to yourself and your life?
Oh, I'm an obsessive workaholic, and I can literally sit at a computer and write for 10 hours. I actually struggle with balance. I have to be very honest with this. I do work out. I need to do cardio, and I need to do workouts. Those keep me grounded. But I can overwork. So for me, it's not about not being disciplined. That's the easiest thing in the world. The point for me is to infuse a vibrancy into my life. I have to consciously schedule socialization. I have to go hit golf balls. My golf pro invites me like every day, free lessons, invites me. And I'm like, no, I've got this article to turn out. I also need an enormous amount of private time. I do not do well if I don't have my private time. I need to be together with myself to do the kind of work I do, because my work is giving full attention to whatever your problem or situation is. And if I'm depleted, I'm not a good source for that. So those are the things that keep me together.
Well, and also the daily practice you obviously practice is to know thyself and to truly know what your needs are, what your boundaries are, and how you best serve the world by your own type of self-care. You're so amazing, Susan Winter. Thank you for being here and sharing all this great stuff.
Thank you.
Great, folks. I'm talking serious Andelicious advice here, and you can go to susanwinter.net and get all the scoop on Susan. And remember, for those of you who are watching live, I'm going to be putting the link to the room here at the end of the show, which will be about 20-25 minutes from now. Come on in, click on that link. Don't worry about being dolled up. You can always leave your video camera off. We would love to see you and have a great conversation one-on-one with you. So my fingers are crossed that you'll join us. In the meantime, let me do a little shout out to folks watching today, Susan. We've got a phenomenal crew here. I know that we have Andrea Beltrami, we have Roxanne Davenport, Cynthia Bays, and Carmen Mandich, Sean Mann, and other folks who are watching and not commenting, Cheryl Deuce. I mean, it's wonderful. But here we have a few quick little comments that I'll bring up on the big eyeball here. And outstanding, Susan Winter.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you, Landre Ward. And then we have over here, we have Sean Mann. Good point about how things come to pass with sufficient focus and belief, as well as the fact that breaks can come from the most unlikely sources. Yes, 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 Sean. Thank you for commenting on that. And then Nikki. Oh, totally agree, Susan Winter. If I hadn't lost my job twice in 3 years, wow, Nikki, I'd never have decided to set up my own business and make my own luck. Wow, that is a wonderful comment. Thank you, Nikki. And as I sit here and, of course, do my best to eyeball. Yay! Now, Susan, let's talk about the heart of entrepreneurship. You know, we come up with these wonderful ideas for our businesses and products and services, and we work so hard on the external things, the marketing, the branding, the numbers, the hiring, the firing, you know, all those important things. But there's more to being an entrepreneur. So let's chat about that. What are your thoughts about the heart of entrepreneurship?
I have a very strong opinion about that. I believe that those of us who have chosen to be entrepreneurs are expressing a part of ourselves that is vital to the very essence of our life here, to our purpose. And because it is us, we are our brand. We are. I may have a product or service, but it is me. So the number one thing that can help all of us is to be in our greatest integrity, in our greatest expression, together with ourselves. There is no substitute for character. We are our product. Anything I do is Susan Winter that goes out there. I don't care if it's a coffee mug or it's an article. Whatever it's going to be, it had better be in absolute union with who I am, how I think, and how I show up in the world. So while we are focused on, oh, we have to return the Twitter feed, and oh, we need to say hi on Facebook, and we need to contact these people and do our marketing and blah, 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 and distribution, the number one thing to go back to really ground ourselves is that it is us showing up in this form. And anything we can do to edify ourselves, to be in agreement with ourselves, to be at one with ourselves, to be the greatest version of who we can be, is the best thing we can do for our product or service.
Well, it's what integrity is all about.
Absolutely.
Which is being honest with others and
Yep.
honest with yourself. It's the old do it or dump it on some levels as well. And Susan, too, there's the whole nurturing ourselves, right? And taking care of our needs so that we don't become so burned out as an entrepreneur.
Ande, I struggle with that. I really do. I am the girl who will drive to the end, like the Mercedes that's got 200,000 miles on it. You haven't put oil in it because you're trying to get there. I do not have balance, and I know that. And you know, I'm not 20, so I've been trying to do this. And I have to keep conscious. You know, nature will reboot us. You'll just come to a point where you'll crash and you'll say, you know what, I've got to take a break. Now I am actively trying to schedule my time so that I show up as the best of me. I have learned, you know, trying to write a book late at night, not productive. Not productive. I've learned the times of day that are best. I've learned how much communication I have. I've also given myself permission to turn off my phone. You know, I really have. And the best thing I've done is hire a staff. I had never done this, trying to do it all on my own, spending hours out of the day doing things that are not my skill set and the learning curve. And you know what? I don't have to learn it to the nth degree. If I hire somebody to work with me, that means I really like them. They've got to like my message. They've got to like me. I don't want just somebody working in, you know, I really would like them to be about the project, free me up to do what I do best, share the resources, let them in on it, and then we have a team, and it's wonderful what I've been able to achieve.
Well, I think that's tremendous advice and something we always need to be reminded of. It's focusing on your strengths and delegating your weaknesses. You don't need to improve your weaknesses, folks. Don't hesitate, delegate. Is that part of being what you call being in agreement with yourself, Susan?
What I call being in agreement with yourself is, I think, a more logical way to say love yourself. This whole spin on you've got to love yourself. Love yourself. Do you love yourself? I mean, Ande, have you ever used that word to describe somebody you know? You know, Andrea is really cool and she's an entrepreneur and a CEO and you know she really loves herself. It's as intangible to most people as the concept of God. It's tangible and intangible at the same time. It sounds like an enormously tall order. I think the best thing we can do is to be in agreement with who we are right now. Stand behind the choices we make. Stand behind the projects we choose to do. Stand behind the ethics and morals with which we do our work. And always seeking to improve ourselves, but at least get on board with who you are. Don't fight it. If you have a certain style of working and that works for you, then do it. Who cares what anybody else is doing? You came here to express your voice. This is your life, your contribution. It doesn't matter what it is that floats your boat. If it's what's right for you, then do it and don't listen to the rest of them. That's the worst thing, is to try and alter our product or service to be in agreement with somebody else. We want to be in agreement with ourselves. Our market will find us when we're in integrity and agreement with ourselves.
Absolutely. The blueprints are lovely little frameworks that you can take and tweak from, but please, folks, really know thyself and find out what works for you. At the Grammys the other night, Sam Smith talked about how when he was trying to be somebody else, it didn't work for him, and the minute he embraced who he was and did things his way, boom, 4 Grammys. And you see those marketing types out there, right, Susan, that are preaching and pushing, when really it's, you got to find out what works for you, yes?
Oh, Ande, I'm so glad you said this. Okay, so I have had a major issue almost all my life with marketing. In the formula that had been established where, first of all, it's for me to win, you've got to lose. Secondarily, it's I'm going to sell you snake oil you don't need because I'm going to push your pain buttons. I could never get behind marketing because I was so appalled at the medium in which they were doing it, and the product was faulty. It was bait for something that was never going to be complete. And so I really struggled with this. And I am so grateful to see that we've come to a new consciousness. Thank God for the millennials, for the internet. It is becoming more and more apparent that the old way of marketing and doing business is failing, and it can't fail fast enough. Because when people are coming in with a mission statement, with a reason, a cause, a belief, and they're coming from the power of their core, it's a beautiful thing. It's inclusive. You know, when you're being yourself, you're not in competition with anybody else. You're never going to be a good version of somebody else. And if you've been like me and you've really struggled with this for the last 15 years, finally our time has come. Finally, the honesty and the authenticity of who you are going to work for you, not against you, because formerly marketing and advertising sought to amend themselves to what you want. Now, in the act of being ourselves, our audience is finding us. Our consumers are finding us because their heartbeat resonates with our heartbeat, because we're being the actual thing that they want. We've got some product or service that echoes that. So it's a great day for all of us.
It sure is. I was at last fall an event in Boston, just an afternoon of top chief marketing officers for major brands or who provided CMO services for major brands. And I was relieved, inspired, excited to hear them all talking about building relationships one conversation at a time. The big brands, and really focusing on the needs of the consumer and not pushing, that old framework for marketing. Thank you, Susan, for that great advice. I love it. How about entrepreneurs, CEOs, business owners investing in themselves? What does that look like?
For me, it meant putting out a lot of money and getting a 10% return the first year. Yeah, it was hard for me to invest in myself because, I can help you with your rent. I can help somebody else pay their medical bill. And I thought, Susan, it's about time you invest in yourself. The way I seduced myself into investing in myself was to tell myself that when I'm doing well, I'll be able to give, that it will affect a desirable output. So in the end, it's the same goal. Investing in ourselves, again, we're our product and service. We've got to be unified and in our own sense of power to be able to provide the best service to our clients and customers.
I agree. Of course, I also come from the other end of the business equation, which is, try to be capitalized, try to get enough money into your business, especially for the startups, understanding what your true and real expenses are, which sometimes you are never going to know until you're in the marketplace, until you start getting that feedback. So be sure to invest financially in yourself. Make sure you have enough capital. I mean, bootstrapping, of course, is delicious if you can do it, but the reality is you need to invest financially, as well as getting a good coach, business coach, folks that can support you, your Pilates instructor, your acupuncturist, the chiropractor, all those wonderful folks who keep your body, your soul, your mind, everything functioning while you, in turn, are taking care of this wonderful business that you're growing. Let's talk about how you leveraged your broadcast and media experience. I know Nikki had a question a few days ago about being able to hone those skills that you and I are using right now, which is talking to the camera, talking to all you folks out there, meaning it sincerely, creating that engagement. How did you leverage that in everything that you've done moving forward, and how did you get that skill set?
Working on stage and looking into the mouth of an audience with 3 balcony levels. I'm like this big on stage if you're singing or acting, and everything is grand gestures because they've got to see it in the back. The first time somebody put a camera on me and said, "So, tell us your name and where are you from?" I was so uncomfortable. I froze. It was just this black thing looking at me, and it's a skill set. Andy, I wrote my first book by hand. I didn't know how to use the computer. I mean, and our friend Sean, he knows he has to walk me through, oh, how do I do Skype? How do I do Google Hangout? You know, if you're not taking a class, which is possible, maybe you have amazingly skilled friends who are willing to walk you through these things. Practice makes perfect. You know, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. I've had a real fear around technology. Even when you suggested this new camera, I'm like, oh, yeah. How's it going to work? Is it going to work? Do I know it's going to work? You know, I trust myself. It's just all this technical stuff. I have a guy, my web dude, he's my guru. I say, Johnny, make it go. Okay, I need to make this go because I don't know how to make it go. And so
it's like Star Trek, and you say, make it so #2. I always loved that.
It's practice. It's practice. You know, we get practice in things like this. Your skill set has improved greatly, Andy. I mean, you were excellent to begin with, but now you're more refined in your message.
When I started my podcasts, I mean, I didn't have to even get dolled up for those, okay? When I started the podcast, I would be so nervous, and I had my script, and I'd be reading it right along. Going live on a video, it can be even scarier. So I highly recommend folks, make sure you have something written out, memorize inside and out your opening so that it flows right off your tongue. And so when you're sitting there going, oh, because, you know, this is cinematic tension, as Richard O calls it, when you go live. There's no stopping the cameras. There's no editing. This is it. So it's the practice that's so key. And Chris Yates was on a few weeks ago, Susan, and he said, just remember, you're going to be just terrible the first time you're out. Just know that. You'll get it out of the way. Each time you're going to be better.
Absolutely. And another thing that takes away tension is forget about the camera and talk to the person that you're seeing on camera. Like I'm talking to you. If I forget that they're out there, that's fine. You and I are having a conversation no differently than if we were like, hey, Andy, what's going on? How are you doing this morning? Is there snow? You forget. You want to be so involved in the person you're speaking to that you completely forget that the camera's there. I can't guarantee you it gives me the best angle for my face. I've seen old Hollywood actors that you say, let me take a photo, and they're like, they've got their absolute angle. You know, sometimes I make weird gestures, and I see Sean will stop the tape, and I'm like, this. But, you know, talk to the person. Listen to them. Your conversation is with them, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And thank you for that great question, Nikki. Seriously, it's something that we all, again, work at to improve. We're just not born that way. It's all. Now, another thing that entrepreneurs can do, and I feel it's, well, you know, I don't think it's a gender issue, Susan. I think that we can end up overextending and overhelping others and forget to set the boundaries. Oh. What are your thoughts on that?
Classic problem with me. Classic. Those of us in a nurturing profession tend to be overly responsible. I hired someone to be the bad guy. Yes, and even a former team member that did the initial setup, my marketing director that I worked with for about 1.5 years. Now we both blame the absent person. Well, you know, it's kind of like wait till your father gets home, or I've got to check with your dad. So I have staff in place that know my faults and foibles, one of which is to agree to help somebody before I've ever considered, is this even a project that's worthy of my, you know, my time, in that so many people ask you for so much that have put so little into the relationship that they have with you. It's astounding to me. So I literally have people that I can turn to and say, I'd love to do this. This sounds great. I'm going to have to give this to my media director. She gets to be the bad guy, not me. And she looks at this and goes, this is 4 hours of your time, no return. Do you want to do it? And then she helps me. So it's always.
I love that. A gatekeeper. It's wonderful.
Gatekeeper. Because I'm so open, you know, that I need to have somebody hold me back from overgiving myself.
Well, and I also caution entrepreneurs to remember to thy own brand be true. Of course, you'd love to help folks out, podcast shows, guest blogging events, articles, etc. But make sure when you say yes that it is in alignment with your brand.
Absolutely.
It's so key.
Yes.
This is a responsibility of yours as a business owner to make sure that your brand is in the best spotlight, highlighted, and in alignment with what the person's doing. It doesn't mean they're not your best friend and that you'd love to help them, but you have to think not of yourself, but of your brand. Right, Susan?
Absolutely, because I have this wonderful woman with whom I partnered. And no matter how much I like her, and at the core, our message is very similar, our demographics are so in opposition that even though I'd like to be united with her, if I speak to her people, I'm going to throw off her message, and if she comes into my people, she will confuse my message. So the branding and the targeting of, is this person in complete alignment with what you're saying? Because every time you show up on camera or in an article or in a podcast, you're reinforcing who you are. So make sure that what you're saying and the person you're working with is absolutely in union with your message.
Oh my gosh. I have a favorite quote of Susan's from her book, Allowing Magnificence. And of course, I just love that title. It's a wonderful book. I want to read this quote to you because it's so powerful. And she says, living the life you desire is the act of reconnecting to the limitless power you already possess. Allowing your magnificence to shine forth is the process of uncovering your own perfection and realizing you are your greatest asset. Talk some more about this and your wonderful book, Allowing Magnificence.
I really believe that we're born intuitively knowing and wise and guided. I think that what happens is we are layered with socialization and numerous messages all throughout our life, from the micro to the macro, whether it's messages of our family unit, our community, all the way to our society. And what happens is oftentimes those messages tell us who we should be. And again, like you were mentioning with the Grammy winner, we try to become this other version of a successful person that is us. And the art of connecting to our real power, again, goes back to our own authenticity, to carefully examine the layers of beliefs, directives, and things that have shrouded our own light and our own truth. Because when you're coming from that place and you're clear on who you are, it is the most powerfully focused force that you could possibly have. It's exactly what we spoke about before.
Yeah, I got to tell you, viewers, doesn't Susan use words so beautifully? Shrouded. Yeah, I got to tell you, I just sit here and going, what inspired you, though? Is that what inspired you to write Allowing Magnificence? Because it's such a powerful book.
I wrote it over 10 years ago. And this is the good thing about being a futurist. I got stuff I can release in 5 years and it'll still be current. As a matter of fact, it'll become current. No, I was in a learning phase, and I put myself on a 6-year regimen that of exploring different aspects of life, and these were notes to myself so that I wouldn't lose my way. And I utilize each experience to reveal me to myself. Who am I in this experience? So it may look, Susan's going to this party and having a conversation with this person. On one level it is, and on another level I'm really exploring something. I want to activate and see how this works. It took me a long time to find my own power. And I think even more so because it was inside. It's very confusing. Life tells you it's there, it's this car, that job, that partner. You know it intellectually, but really dismantling it to find who you are and where your strength lies is a process. It's a peeling back the layers of the nonsense. But what's cool is that at the center, it's already done. We are complete. We're there. And when you pull back all the nonsense, when you unlearn what's been taught to you, it's not like you have to struggle to get up to speed. It's like, boom, this magical, powerful force is there. It's the real you. And from that point, everything is just extraordinary.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I love your work, but what do you love most about your work?
I seek to flip a cog in somebody's consciousness to help them to evolve into who they came here to really be. That's all I want. If I can help you in your thinking to see yourself and see the world in what I feel is a more balanced and beautiful light, get you out of the victimization, get you out of the negativity, and help to show you how I see it from a higher perspective, I think you're going to be happier. I know you'll be happier. You'll be more creative. I just think sometimes we're just not taught the right things. And it's not a conspiracy thing. People really don't know. They just don't know. And those that get it want to try and help others get it, right?
Right. And what do you see on your horizons? What are the possibilities that are unfolding for you right now in your work, in your life?
Well, what I really love is seeing the active evolution of some of my clients. I love my clients, and even though I'm marketed, my bullseye demographic is supposed to be women 22 to 30, my male clients are awesome. And what I love about this is watching them grow and get it. They get themselves. They start to know what they think, what they feel. I love seeing them get so together that they have the answer that I would have told them. I don't want somebody to have to rely upon me for a lifetime. They're welcome to work with me. If I'm doing my job well, you should have some tools that you can use on your own without me, or I'm not doing my job. So I love seeing them get it, and I love seeing them excited.
Wow. How can folks work with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Contact me on susanwinter.net. I've got a part in the nav bar that gives you the consultation page.
Folks, I adore Susan Winter. Please connect with her on all her social media platforms. She loves engaging. What I love best about Susan is her deep commitment to living in integrity in her life and helping others do the same. I'm crazy about you, Susan. Any last words before I pull up a few more comments and we go and have an afterglow party?
Entrepreneurs are very special. You have not chosen the easy path. You've got to understand you're a bit of a renegade. It's okay, go with it. You like to be your own boss, and you've got a vision that is greater than anything you already see being done, or you would not be taking the time to do what you're doing. So we need entrepreneurs to expand the consciousness of all of life. Your contribution is invaluable.
Oh, I agree, Susan. Thank you, all of you, for having the courage to be entrepreneurs. So let's bring up a few comments. Nicole Lavox says, OMG, golden gem after golden gem. I'll have to go back to re-listen from the beginning. Thank you so much for tuning in, Nicole. And Mel, wow, this HOA is on fire. I didn't know it was going to be like this. Wow, tons of great advice. Thanks for joining us today. And the branding goddess herself, Andrea Beltrami, following your light isn't always a path others can see. And that isn't a bad thing. Right, Susan?
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful comment. Beautiful comment. And then Carmen, oh, there is nothing like team collaboration. Honestly, I often turn to the pets and the plants in my home and say, where are my people? It's so crazy, but it's true. I love team collaboration. And then one of my local folks here, Roxanne, I worked on the medical field. Now I'm home on Google Plus, and my community is medical. How great is that about the internet and how we can move through the world? I love that. And Richard O., thank you as always for being here. Conversation as an interview style. Excellent, Andy and Susan. So true, Richard. The ability to have an interview that is very conversational style and creating a sense of value and worth for the folks in the interview as well as the viewers. It's a great experience. Okay, so we've come to the end of the show. Thank you to all my live viewers for tuning in today. Your participation means the world to me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Waving to those folks who did swing by and said, hey, I'll have to catch you in the replay. That's Deborah Crosby. Also Deborah Oakland, Cherie Valentine, Christopher Pearsall, Dave Moore, Lisa Angles, and all of you. Thank you for watching the replay, and thank you for sharing. For those of you who have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'm blowing you kisses of gratitude for subscribing right now. Thank you. And be sure to visit andylyons.com and download my 7 essential strategies for entrepreneurs. These are my best tips to help you in your business stay focused and be successful. Any last final words before I go ahead and grab the link and we go into the Afterglow chat, Susan?
No, Andy, I just love the fact that we can actually have this depth of a conversation.
Yeah.
It may not have been about the nuts and bolts of getting funding, but I think it's important because it's how we set ourselves on the inside that can really affect everything on the outside.
Heartfelt thanks to you, Susan, for
Thank
bringing such elegant and eloquent information to the show today. I'll be watching this many times myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody ready for the Afterglow chat? So am I. In the meantime, those of you watching the replay, find me on social media. You know I love seeing you. I love finding out what makes your heart sing. Okay, and until next time, which next week, it's the Blogging from Paradise, Ryan Biddulph. That's right, February 17th at 1 p.m. Ryan is bringing his best info on how you can have a rewarding, fulfilling, and monetizable blog. He's done it, and he's made a ton of mistakes along the way, and he has great advice for you, including the best mindset for you. So I'll see you on the 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Have an Andelicious day, everyone. Mwah!
you.